everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a roundup review video. I have actually been reading a lot of mysteries and thrillers this year. So far I've read 21 books and almost half of them have been some kind of mystery or thriller. I also have been delving into specifically literary mysteries. So they have a mystery plot, but like literary fiction, they're going to be more focused on things like thematic exploration and they're more character driven. And today I'm going to talk about 3 literary mysteries that I have read in 2025. I want to start with the first literary mystery I read this year, which was my most anticipated book of the year at that time, and also the most disappointing so far. And that is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. Now, everything I've read so far from Adrienne Young, I have absolutely loved, and especially Spells for Forgetting, which was the most recent Adrienne Young I had read prior to A Sea of Unspoken Things. I absolutely loved it. The relationships, the mystery and intrigue, the twists, the atmosphere. It's got this isolated setting. And to me, it seems like A Sea of Unspoken Things is a similar idea, a similar feel. Like maybe she got this idea as she's writing Spell because there's a lot of similarities. But in my opinion, it's not as well executed. So this book follows a pair of twins, or I guess a twin, one of the twins. She finds out that her brother has died. And she knows this because there's this kind of paranormal connection they have that goes beyond the traditional twin bonding. She feels what he feels. So when he dies, she physically experiences that. And she knows before anyone else tells her. So she had moved out of their little hometown in the middle of a forest to escape some things in her past, forge a new life. But she goes back for the first time in decades to find out what happened to her brother. There also is a romance subplot as a mutual friend and also her first love is also helping her solve this mystery because she does not feel like it's an accident. Adrienne Young is really great at crafting a rich atmosphere and the setting playing a big role in the story. So I of course loved that part. And I also thought that in terms of the actual mystery, she was really good at planting seeds of doubt. As the main character is uncovering more information about her brother, she begins to get kind of suspicious. Like, what was he really up to? What is he really like? Do I even know him after all these years of not really talking to him, even though he's my twin? And I felt him die. In terms of being compelling, great. But a lot of the other things I was looking forward to fell flat. For example, I love books with sibling connections, sibling focus. And I was really interested in this dynamic of I'm responsible for him, someone has to watch out for him. I'm worried about what he might do, what he's capable of, but also something happened and I want to distance myself from that. I don't like who I've become. Unfortunately, we just get a lot of these vague references about the kind of person her brother is, and we are mainly told. I would have loved to see, because they did have some flashbacks to this inciting event, this thing that made her leave her hometown, and I would have loved for more of those flashbacks to show rather than tell that interesting dynamic, because I still feel like I'm not really sure what kind of person the brother is, despite all this talk about it. There was also this thing that just kept being repeated about there being darkness in the woods. We were made for the darkness. We were born in the darkness. That this setting has some kind of impact on the townspeople, especially with her brother, things he's done, things she's learning about him, also what she has done in the past that made her leave. And it's a very intriguing idea, but it just really wasn't explored. So again, loved the concept, not the execution. Moving on to the second literary mystery. This is pretty much everything I wanted A Sea of Unspoken Things to be. In fact, I gave it 5 stars, and I read this book back in March and I'm still thinking about it from time to time. It was absolutely devastating, but I know I will reread it at some point. And that is Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. This is a little bit of an older book, 2021. I know she just had a new book come out. I just got it from the library while Dark Shore. Because I love Once There Were Wolves so much. So I'm really excited to dive into that. But why I rated this book 5 stars. All the things that I didn't like in Sea of Unspoken Things, this book had. The setting, it has that sibling relationship, the thematic exploration, the darkness that's in all of us. It was just so beautifully executed. Wolves follows a group of conservationists who go to Scotland to rewild. They are reintroducing wolves into a rural Scottish community, specifically one of the forests near it. They had been hunted to extinction in Scotland, but there's this idea that introducing a natural predator to the area is going to help improve the ecosystem, basically restoring balance to that ecosystem. Because it's rural, because there's a lot of farmers, there's cattle and sheep, and these wolves are seen as dangerous, the community is very close-minded to the idea. In this book, we kind of have 2 mystery plots. Firstly, the present, in which one of the main opponents and someone who has a lot of conflict with the main character ends up brutally murdered. I'm sorry. I don't think y'all can hear it, but I can. My cat is on the other side of the room drinking water, and it's so loud. I keep saying the main character. As much as I love this book, I can't remember anyone's names. Anyway, one of the main opponents to the rewilding is found dead. Of course, that casts suspicion on her and anyone she's involved with. So she is trying to find out who is responsible. You also have this other mystery of what happened in the past. We know she and her twin sister, look, more twins. More twins. They fled Alaska because of a traumatic experience, something very dark, and they don't really talk about it. It was traumatic enough to where the sister is mute and can no longer take care of herself. And so we also have these flashbacks unfolding what happened and why the main character is the way she is now. Some things that make this book stand out to me is the main character has mirror touch synesthesia, meaning if she sees someone or something like an animal get hit, get kissed, anything like that, she feels that sensation. Because of that, she grew up like a very sensitive and emotional child, and also very in touch with others and with the natural world. But as an adult in this present timeline, we see she's very closed off. She's the opposite. She's closed off and untrustworthy. And she sees danger in everything. I love her connection to the wolves and how she has this desire for belonging, but also this fear. And how that, and also seeing the community in this Scottish town, helps her come out of her shell some. Another thing that I loved was the exploration of the main character's relationship with her sister. Through these flashbacks, we clearly see through these memories and interactions, things characters do, say, and think that really show how close the sisters were, and how the older sister was the one to kind of stand up for her and be bold. Things didn't really bother her as much. We got a clear showing of that dynamic and how it has flipped. I also thought the writing style was poetic, but not overdone. It never felt like Charlotte McConaughey was trying to sound quotable or pretty. A running theme in the book is the darkness that's in all of us. What are you really capable of? And what are others capable of, and how that impacts our relationship and how we're seeing the world. Especially since we have those mysteries going on, there's obviously some kind of darkness. But you also have the main character afraid of herself, and it makes for a very compelling character arc. Okay, to close out this video, we have Heartwood by Amity Gage, which came out earlier this year. I read it on Kindle. I hadn't the privilege of getting an e-arc from the publisher through NetGalley. Heartwood follows multiple perspectives surrounding the disappearance of an experienced hiker, Valerie, when she is hiking the Appalachian Trail. And so you have her perspective where she is writing letters to her mom when she's lost in the wilderness as a way to cope. We slowly unveil what happened when she was out there. We also have Beverly, who is leading the search and rescue party. And then we have the elderly Lena, hearing about this mystery and becoming very involved in her own way, kind of an armchair detective. Some things that stood out to me were the thematic exploration and the characters, particularly Beverly and Valerie. Through her letters to her mother that she's writing in her notebook as a coping mechanism, Valerie's mindset is very interesting, and we get what seems like a pretty realistic struggle with her sanity to survive. If you've ever read Life of Pi by Jan Martel, I would say it's pretty comparable in that aspect. Beverly is a very admirable character. She's determined. She is compassionate. Nothing is going to stop her, even though this search starts to seem hopeless. There's also a big focus on themes of connection and isolation. The title Heartwood refers to the innermost part of the tree that is the most dense, which speaks to this idea of resiliency. In terms of cons, Lena's perspective felt a bit out of place. Because she's not as strongly connected to the mystery, her story more so leans into the thematic exploration of connection and isolation. But ultimately, it seems the main purpose of including Lena in the mystery aspect is this big twist involving mental illness that I wasn't a fan of. I liked the multimedia aspect. You of course have Valerie's notebook, and you also have like this podcast interview transcript going on throughout it, things like that. I think that maybe that aspect was more suited to a mystery or thriller, and I think that's where my expectations for the books kind of fall flat. This book was marketed, like if you look at the blurb, it says the characters are racing against time to find Valerie. There's a frantic search. It definitely leans more into that mystery thriller aspect. And then you have this conspiracy angle, and you have the multimedia stuff and the interviews. As you're reading it, it's not reading as an urgent race against time. Heartwood just ended up feeling a bit muddled, and like it needed to lean either more towards the mystery aspect or more towards the literary fiction aspect. That is all for today's video. Let me know what other kinds of videos you like to see or other genres you would like a close look at with these roundup reviews. Have a good day, and I will see you next time.